Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Sister Sister, a podcast for spiritual baddies. We're your hosts, Elle and Amaya, and today, what are we talking about, Elle?
Today we're talking about working with entities, specifically entities that are not ancestors or deities, other types of entities. And this is not a comprehensive list, so don't take it as that because there are so many that you could work with. Like, we probably could make this literally an entire season itself, but we're making it an episode. So, we're just going to get started with what we mean by working with entities. Within witchcraft, you may hear the phrase, I work with blank, which can be a deity or ancestors most commonly. However, there are a plethora of other mystical beings you can work with, from dragons to fairies to sirens to daemons or demons. Two separate things. Today, we'll be taking a look at different types of entities and give you some basic information on working with them. For the sake of this episode, we will not be speaking on deities or ancestors work, as those topics are much larger to dive into. We have brushed upon both in past episodes and will likely go more in depth on the topics for future seasons. If you want to hear about deity work, please let us know because we haven't gone like super in depth on that, and we could make that like a whole separate couple episodes on deity work specifically. So let's talk about working with the Fae, Amaya. We love the Fae in some contexts.
Some are good, some are bad. But anyway, we'll get more into that in a second. So, from Patheos, one of our resources here, it's important to do your research up front. And while it is believed that it's more than possible to work harmoniously with fairies, it's vital that you know what you're getting into. The Fae can be capricious and temperamental, meaning that they can easily be offended. There is much in the way of helpful lore regarding proper etiquette when engaging with the fair folk. As with any other type of spirit you may wish to work with, you're going to want to do your research ahead of time in order to avoid potential faux pas. Be polite. It's unlikely that you'll be able to completely avoid ever offending a fairy, but the best thing you can do is to be polite and courteous. The best thing you can do is be polite and courteous, although the folklore advises us to be wary of verbally thanking the fair folk, which they can find dismissive. Remember that developing healthy relationships take time and dedication. Don't go in making demands of the Fae. They're not slaves and don't owe us a thing. Instead, take it slow, communicate with respect and humility. Number three is remembering reciprocity. So, like any other relationship, the one you might develop with the fairies is going to be a two-way street, meaning there's give and take. The fair folk may do you a favor, but you will then owe them. However, offerings of milk and honey won't always cut it, and you might find yourself having to sacrifice something much more dear to your heart. Thus, I highly recommend communicating with the Fae and asking what they would like in return for a favor before agreeing to anything. And lastly, protect yourself. It would be foolish to not include this step. Keep in mind that not all fairies, like other spirits or even human beings, will have your best interests in mind. What did I say before? Therefore, connecting back to the first piece of advice, know how to keep yourself safe from those fae which have malicious intent. Keep a piece of iron nearby, carry St. John's wort or rowan berries, and turn a piece of your clothing inside out.
And what is the number one rule of working with the Fae? Never give them your full name. Don't do it. If you've ever done any research on the Fae, never tell them your full name.
Why? For those who might not know or won't have
Um,
time to research.
yeah, so basically, fairies, like any being, any entity that you work with, can cause mischievous actions to occur in your life. If they have your full name, and they don't like the offering that you gave in return, they will find you. They will find you, and more of them will find you. And it's also like, I don't know if you've ever seen, like, if you're walking in the forest and you see a staircase to nowhere, don't go up it. It's a fae trap. If you see a circle of mushrooms with flowers in the middle, don't go in it. It's a fae trap. Don't give them your full name. It makes it much easier for them to trap you.
The more you know.
Yeah. Um, I feel like this may be a topic that I know a little bit more on just because I live in Appalachia. And like, I feel like the Fae are very much so talked about, but not talked about in this area, as are some other mystical beings that people claim do or don't exist. Also, for the sake of this episode, whenever we are talking specifically from one source, we will reference it. However, some of this information is gathered from like personal accounts from people on TikTok as well as like multiple sources online. So whenever we don't quote the source, it's because the information is coming from multiple places and it would be impossible to say like every 2 seconds. And now this information comes from. So just know that everything will be linked, but we do have like certain accounts that are coming from specific people. So some specific ways to work with the Fae. This comes from Cassie UHL, a practitioner who works with the Fae. It's a blog post that she has on her blog. Number one, prepare a fairy offering on a home altar or out in nature. Most people recommend starting out in nature. You don't exactly want to invite the Fae into your home if you don't have to. The easiest way to start working with the Fae will be to physically and energetically take action to open yourself up to the potential of learning from them. You can do this by leaving fairies offerings out in nature or on your altar. Because Otherworld is all around you, this is less about attracting the Fae and more about creating a safe space for you to experience beings like fairies from the Otherworld. That said, there are items you can use that correspond with and attract fairies. These items are, going to be listed and they serve two purposes. The first is a reminder of your desire to connect with the Fae and as a way to attract them. Fairies are said to love sweet treats like fruit and cakes. Milk is another common food item the Fae are said to enjoy. There are also a host of herbs the Fae enjoy, like thyme, yarrow, heather, and rosemary. All things cute and tiny will also serve as potent reminders to you to be open to experiences from the other world. Building a fairy garden outside or creating a special altar space in your home dedicated to the Fae can both be powerful ways to set an intention to work with the Fae. I feel like fairy gardens are a very common thing, but I feel like a lot of people don't realize what the actual purpose of them is. Like you see all the little like things in like the Dollar Tree whenever springtime comes around. It's like make a fairy garden. It's like, do you know what you're doing? Do you know? Number two, you want to form a strong relationship with your natural surroundings. So, a lot of times we can be distracted from the magic that is around us, but it's always there, especially in nature. Many practices have what's called a spirit of place or a genus loci. These are the spirits of the land, which include fairies, elves, gnomes, and more. Connecting with nature regularly will help open up doorways to your local spirits of place. This can be as simple as going for daily walks, becoming more in tune with the seasons, gardening. Basically, you want to be outside to connect with the fairies. Perhaps you'll start noticing things in nature that look like portals or doorways, signifying entry points into the other world. Maybe you'll start to see flashes or shadows of the Fae out of the corner of your eye as you explore in nature and the woods. Be open to experiencing sense, sound, sensations, and visuals from the Fae, um, and also other spirits of the places as you explore your nature and like the environment around you that is the natural world. Then the last one is meditation and journey work. So, meditation and journey work are this writer's favorite way to work with fairies. It's unlikely that you'll come across a solid living, breathing fairy in your garden, but journeying to the other world is another story. If meditation is new to you, this technique will probably take you some practice, but it's really about like sitting, and you can even do like guided meditation work. She has a link to one that can help you connect to like the Fae and other world creatures. They consider otherworld, it's like a Celtic term. That's where like all of the mystical beings exist and they can cross into our realm through portals and things. Just to clarify what that is referring to, it's very much so like a Celtic paganism concept, but it is talked about in a lot of other traditions as well. Next, we're going to talk about dragons. Also, people probably think we're crazy that this is like an episode that we're doing, but like if you don't believe in the magical beings, then like, are you really a witch? You gotta have some sort of like belief in fairies and dragons and whatnot, I feel.
Yeah, they all coincide with one another
Like
personally. So
some sort of being that's like, mystical.
if you're a witch, then you work with some kind of entity of sorts. So
And if you
that's
live
why.
in Appalachia, you know all about the beings in the woods.
Exactly. So anyway, this source comes from Jennifer Jorgensen, a practicing witch of over 20 years. Not all dragons have wings or breathe fire, but some do. There are dragons for every element and season: dragons of storms, thunder, and lightning. There's chaos dragons and baby dragons, dragons that guard great treasures, and dragons that will take you for a flight. Many dragons are also shapeshifters. They hold great power, magic, and ancient wisdom, and they can either be harmful or helpful. Overall, working with dragons can lend great power to your spells, workings, and rituals. Symbolism and dragon work. Use these items with intention on your altar or in your daily practices to welcome the energy of dragons. Also, fun fact, Elle and I are both born on the year of the dragon, so this would be great for us to work with if we so choose. But anyway, back to this. Though there are some general items favored by all dragons for the most part, picking the right offering depends a lot on what type of dragon you're working with. Below are some suggestions to get you started. However, you will find over time that the best offerings are the ones your personal dragon requests. So be sure to be open to hearing your dragon's whispers. So general items that you can leave are swords, athame, dragon's blood resin, egg-shaped crystals and stones, dragon eggs, dragon statues, and whatever offering your personal dragon likes. Food offerings could be dragon eggs, deviled dragon eggs, dragon fruit, and dragon noodles. Fire and smoke breathing dragons include offerings of smoke and fire, such as incense, especially dragon's blood, which is actually one of my favorite incense smells, personally. Burnt offerings of tobacco or herbs, candles, and sacred or ritual fires. Water dragons like shells, pearls, mermaid money, which are sand dollars, sea glass, sand from a favorite beach, and magically charged water. Earth dragons like stones, crystals, gems, geodes, herbs, plants, and coins. Storm dragons like rain, melted snow, or ice collected during a storm, wind chimes, and weather vanes. And Asian dragons like gold coins and pearls. And again, once you've connected with a dragon, you will learn the offering that particular dragon appreciates. Remember, stone, crystal, rock, or geode that is special to you is an appropriate offering. Simply dedicating altar space to dragons, having a small statue, dedicated candle, or dragon art in your home is an offering if done with intention.
Now we're going to talk about working with sirens, which is one of my favorite entities to talk about. Um, because sirens are going to come from a much larger aspect of sea witchcraft, we are going to talk about that kind of briefly first, just to give you like a little bit of background on like what sea witchcraft is. You also can work with mermaids. That is a thing as well. I mean, it's kind of similar in what you're gonna do, but I personally feel that a lot more people work with sirens than mermaids because sirens are more like the alluring, the beauty, very much so glamour magic and things like that can be incorporated in. So, this is going to come from the Book of Eucalypt on Sea Witchcraft. It is centered around the moon and the tides, which, the sea is controlled by the moon. So, not really any surprise there. Different phases of the moon affect the waves, the tide times, the motion, and the essence of the land, just as the moon affects us, as we are primarily water. We share this connection with the ocean, just as choosing to perform at the beach during the day is entirely different than at night. There's a very big difference with the phases of the moon. New moon or the dark moon is like rebirth. The sky is dark. You can't see where you're going, and you need to know the area very well to ensure your safety. If you're alone, which many of us usually are. The full moon, on the other hand, is like dancing under your own streetlight because it's so bright. So then we're going to talk about understanding siren magic, and this comes from Jennifer Heather, another kind of influential, I guess I don't want to say like influencer, because I don't think witchcraft people are really influencers unless it's like chaotic witch on. Greta the Witch on TikTok. I wish I could remember her actual I will put it for us to put in the notes. She works with sirens. She does a lot of posts about siren magic, so she's a good resource to go to as well. We've referenced her podcast, Spiritually Connected. Actually, that might be what her TikTok username is. I think it's spiritually_connected. So another resource that you can use for social media purposes. So the siren is the dark counterpart to the mermaid. Both hold magic all of their own, drawing from the mystery of the sea. The earliest mention we have of sirens comes from Homer's Odyssey, where they are formless voices summoning sailors to their island, where they would meet their doom. The sirens promise the listener their heart's deepest desires in order to lure them in, although the Greeks imagined the sirens as birds in art. They were never explicitly described as such by Homer. Still, sirens were thought of as birds with the heads of women, but over the centuries, this image transformed into that of a fish with the upper body of a woman. Ideas are never static, evolving constantly, and in the modern era, siren is a term used to describe a dangerously enigmatic woman. All archetypes have something to tell us about the human condition, meaning that if you're currently drawn to the siren archetype in a spiritual sense, it may be indicating that this is a side of yourself that needs to be explored and understood. Owing to, the long standing fascination that many have with sea witchery, you may be feeling called to work with sirens. So now from her, we have a couple ways to work with sirens. The first is glamour magic using ocean-based tools such as shell jewelry. A comb decorated with shells can be used as a part of glamour ritual to reinforce your affirmations. And she also has a full ritual about comb glamour spells in her blog post that you can go look at. Next, create a siren altar by placing ocean-related objects on a surface. This is a living space where you might come to meditate, perform tarot readings, or cast siren spells. Fill it with things you love that conjure up the essence of the ocean, and sirens include textured fabrics and hues of blue, pearls, shells, pictures, and jewelry. You may even like to place a siren mirror as the centerpiece. Next, you can enchant your signature siren scent. Scent is so closely linked to emotion, so supercharge your favorite fragrance by placing it on your siren altar. Speak an affirmation every time you spritz it, as if you are anointing yourself in an aura of radiance. I personally make a siren song perfume as well as a crystal infused body oil that is purposely meant for like luring intentions, and it can be used in a number of different ways to like lure money, to lure, attention, confidence, whatever it may be that you're trying to bring in. That's a very common thing for a lot of people to do with their siren magic. Next, harness the power of the storm. Mermaids, sea witches, and sirens are historically linked with storms. being blamed for causing them, although this is unlikely to be true. When a storm occurs, you can harness that chaotic energy for your spell work. One way that you can do this is by collecting rainwater from a storm. If you aren't super close to the ocean, that's like your best bet. Collect some rainwater to harness it. And then lastly, bathe in sacred water. What better way for the siren to rejuvenate and recharge than to immerse themselves in a bath that is dressed with sacred water? This can be moon water, this could be that rainwater that you add to it, but it's a time to cleanse both physically and spiritually as you honor yourself at the time and as you make space to focus on the kind of energy you want to bring into your life. I also will say that a really therapeutic way to cleanse yourself is if it's raining and it's not thundering and lightning, just go lay in it. It's very therapeutic. I do it quite often.
So now we're going to be talking about working with demons and demons.
Demons. Yeah,
Yeah,
demons versus
demons.
demons.
This is a Medium article written by a yogi. So this is where our resources from for this section. So what are demons? In modern culture, demons are often feared as purely evil beings, but the original truth is more complex. In ancient traditions, including Middle Eastern, pagan, occult, and the occult traditions, demons were spirits of great power. Some were dark, yes, but many were teachers, protectors, and enforcers of spiritual law. Occult teachings such as the Gosha or grimoires like the Lesser Key of Solomon describe demons as intelligent entities who can help humans gain knowledge, power, love, success, and defense. Important to note, not all demons are hostile. However, they are forceful and demand respect. They are not pets or tools. They are ancient beings with their own personalities and desires. So, what are daemons? Daemons, which is Greek for daimones, I'm not Greek. So, anyway, they're spiritual intermediaries, neither angels nor demons. They are beings that exist between the human and the divine. And Socrates famously said he had a daemon that whispered guidance to him. Plato and other Greek philosophers saw the daemon as the guardian of a person's destiny. In modern esoteric traditions, the daemon is your inner guide, sometimes connected to the higher self or holy guardian angel. Daemons are not concerned with their ego or worldly desires, but they guide you toward your true soul purpose, even if it's difficult. Working with daemons. In modern times, working with daemons, or specifically your daemon, means to work with your higher self, to find ways to connect to you or on a more enlightened path. Common practices include things like meditation, journaling, shadow work, and divination to receive guidance from your daemon. Working with demons. Protection, protection, protection. When working with any entity or doing witchcraft of any kind, you should assure first that you are well protected. Much like the deity work, you should do research into demonology specifically. What demons do you identify with personally? What demons would add to your magical practice? What entities could you dedicate your time to build a working relationship? Every demon is different, while some are considered actual deities like Lucifer. Others are more hidden away and difficult to call upon. Much like deity work, you have to build a working relationship based off your goal and what you choose to work with this entity. Choosing entities that align with the types of magic you practice, learn what they like as offerings, and if you plan to work with them regularly, create a designated space to leave them offerings and do workings on.
Yeah, so working with demons is basically the same concept as deity work, just in a very different context. You kind of have to go through the same research process. You kind of want to like make your decision very, I guess, informed. You don't want to abruptly make it. And now, on the other side of the coin, if you're looking at demons versus angels in Christianity, we're going to talk about working with angels. But this is not the unbiblically accurate angels, this is like actual angels. So, angels are divine beings that are believed to be messengers of the divine. They are present in many different religions and spiritual practices, including witchcraft. Working with angels can be a powerful way to connect with the divine guidance, protection, and healing. So, here are the types of angels and working with them specifically. The first is your guardian angel. One of the best ways to start working with angels is to connect with your guardian angel. This is the angel that is assigned to you at birth and is with you throughout your life. To connect with your guardian angel, set aside some time each day for meditation or prayer, depending on your tradition. Ask your guardian angel to reveal themselves to you and to guide you along your spiritual path. You may receive a feeling, a message, or a sign that your guardian angel is with you. Then we have archangels. This is probably more prevalent in types of witchcraft that focus on like having sects of Christianity involved in them, like a lot of Italian folk magic does. Archangels are powerful angels that are thought to have specific areas of expertise and can help with various challenges, such as healing, protection, and guidance. Some of the archangels that you may want to call on include Michael for protection, Raphael for healing, and Gabriel for communication. To call on an archangel, simply use their name in a prayer or meditation and ask for their help with your specific issue. Then we have the seraphim, which are the fire of the divine. These angels are meant to be the closest to source or spirit energy. They are a source of light and divine love. It is best to work with them when doing fire magic or rituals that use movement to create a spell, such as dancing, singing, that sort of thing. And then we have the chair. I know I'm gonna screw this up. Then we have the cherubim, keepers of knowledge. These angels are the keepers of sacred knowledge in the universe. It is best to work with them for air magic, things like wind spells, breath work, or enchantment of books, magical tools, and grimoire pages.
Okay.
Now we're going to go on to house spirits, which is the last section, and it's broken up into two. So Amaya will start with understanding spirits who take up residence in a home. As you guys all know, I have one. His name's Bruce. But then we also will be talking about the actual spirit of your house as well.
Yep. So many homes and dwellings are naturally filled with spirits, and the witch, spirit worker, animist, and psychically sensitive person will notice their presence. These spirits take up residence in a home or dwelling for as many different reasons as there are different types of spirits. The dead may linger in a building where they spend considerable time in their life or that they had strong emotional attachment to, such as a family farm, a house they built, or their childhood home. Other spirits may be attracted to the dwelling due to previous activities that took place there. The regular practice of magic and spirit communication can create tendencies in a location that naturally cause spirits to frequent that place, as witnessed by anyone who has regularly used that same location for ritual or magic work. Benefit of spirit relationships. As your relationships with these spirits grow, you may find yourself with new spirit allies working with you to protect your home, family, and pets. The benefits of this relationship can be surprising, as you may find random gifts from the spirit within your home. Tips for keeping the spirits happy. Don't slam doors, whether that be bedroom doors, entryway doors, cupboard doors, or pantry doors. Doorways are natural portals, and some spirits prefer to dwell in such places. Slamming doors can knock them from their home, and it does upset them. Be respectful when passing through doorways. This really doesn't need to be complicated. Just passing through the door with an acknowledging glance at the doorway, making that moment of connection with the spirit who abides there is enough. When working with any spirits, be they God, land based, elemental, human, animal, or other, gifts and offerings are always appreciated. Alcohol, food, water, incense, light, such as candles or oil lamps, are good general offerings. Singing, dancing, and cleaning your home are also appropriate. Keep your house clean. Remember you share the space. Even if you own your home, you are still being seen as being a secondary resident in the eyes of the spirits who live there. You may sell the home and move on, the spirits will remain. Regular cleaning and keeping the home neat, organized, and smelling nice is respectful to your host and shows that not only do you care about the home, but that you're invested in it as much as they are.
Now, just like a side note from my personal experience with spirits in your home, while doorways are portals, and this includes closet doors, so be sure, it might be a smart idea to just leave it ajar. You don't want to like upset them if they're in the home and they can't leave. If they want to go back through their little portal, they might wake you up in the middle of the night. And then also some other common portals are going to be mirrors. That's a very common portal for a lot of spirits to go through is mirrors. You can lock your mirrors if you aren't wanting entities to pass through them in your home, but just know that if you have spirits that coincide with you, maybe don't lock your mirrors because they probably use them as portals. So, the spirit of the home itself is often carried on by a number of energies, things like when the house was built and what it was built out of. Has the house had fire damage in the past, water damage, mold, as well as energies of the people who occupied the space in the past? Were they good people, or was the house a place of illegal activities? What was the family structure like? Were the people in the family mystics or witches themselves? A house may have different energies in different spaces because of different factors that have impacted the space. So, for me personally at the shop, my back wall didn't exist whenever I acquired this place because of a fire. So, towards the back of the home, it kind of feels a little bit more like the house is sad. Like you can kind of feel that energy. It's just kind of like it was sad because, there was water damage and fire damage and all these things from it being open for so long. And it kind of like has a better energy now because we fixed it. So, how to work with your home spirits. As with other beings, the key to offerings is to ask what they want. This is the same for working with your home or house spirit. Ask if you are spiritually sensitive, you can use that to determine answers. Allow just like asking questions aloud and listening to your intuition. Otherwise, you can use forms of divination like a tarot card deck, pendulum, whatever works best for you is the way to go. As with any relationship, communication is key. It's important to remember that by creating this relationship or partnership with your house spirit or spirits, you have the right to ask for their assistance in protecting you and your family, even the surely ones, once you have established a positive rapport because it benefits all parties for the house to be protected. Some potential house spirit offerings are water in a bowl or like a chalice, a glass, salt in a bowl with or without herbs, flowers, and plants, dried or fresh fruits, incense, milk, honey, wine, mead, beer, liquor. Anything you really can imagine can be a good way to connect with your house spirit. Same thing goes with like the entities that you are sharing your space with, things like cleaning your home, taking good care of it, keeping the energetic space clean as well, with cleansing it if someone came in with negative energy, things like that. So, some closing remarks. These are just a few types of entities that you can work with aside from deities and ancestors. Work with the entities that feel right to you. There's no rules when it comes to, oh, you have to work with the Fae or you have to work with dragons. I do suggest working with your house spirits. I think that they're pretty good to have working relationship with, as well as entities that may occupy your home. And a lot of times those may be ancestors if it's a family home. So, final thoughts, Maya?
Don't piss them off. That's really the only advice I have.
I will
Whoever
say,
you decide.
I think that at some point in the future we should do a whole separate episode on river spirits because I wanted to include them in this, but there's just too much information on river spirits for it to not be its own thing. And if you want to really test some people's patience, work with some river spirits. Go feed their name to the river.
Peace. Well, be sure to drop that in the comments if you do want to learn more about that. We can do that in next season. But yeah, like I said, no matter what kind of entity you decide to work with, don't piss them off. Remember, it's a two-way street. And yeah, they're here to help you, not hurt you. But anyway, let's get right into tarot time.
All right. Spirit, what's the collective need to hear today? I'm moving my laptop back a little bit so I have more space to shuffle. Okay, let's try this one more time. Okay, there we go. That's one. Thank you. The Empress. Hey, Divine Feminine, how are you doing? Nice to see you here. Hope you're enjoying your day. The Empress basically encompasses everything that the Divine Feminine is. It is about being in your nurturing energy, your loving energy. It also is about fertile times. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get pregnant or have a baby, but it can mean fertile and like things are coming to fruition for you in your manifestations, or you're having more money come in, or if you are a person who has plants like myself, maybe you're going to have an abundant harvest. I mean, we're kind of past harvest season, but whenever this message finds you, it may not be. But yeah, that's basically what the Empress is about. It's about that divine feminine energy and really just like the nurturing sides of the divine feminine.
Period. Clock it. Let's get right into astrology almanac. From what I see here, without spoiling it, seems like it's a really good message.
Today we have a first quarter moon in Pisces. Keep your head down and quietly work on adjustments over the next week without revealing your cards to others. Then on the 29th, Mercury will go back direct in Scorpio. Finally. You can start to get yourself back on track, but remember there may be lingering effects from the post retrograde shadow, so don't try to jump back into everything too quickly. Then on the 30th, Venus enters Sagittarius. You may want to explore some more adventure in your relationship over the next few weeks. And finally, on the 4th, we have a full moon in Gemini. This is a time to finalize plans and really drill down what your next big project is.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to click that like button. If you haven't already subscribed, you better do so. And might as well turn on the post notifications button by clicking the little bell so you get notified when the next episode drops. I mean, literally as soon as it drops, 2 p.m. on Fridays. What more can you ask for? Anyway, thanks for tuning in. We love you guys and see you next time.
Bye, guys.